Here we have an app that renders a list of fruit, and you can see that we're emulating a 2-second loading time. So if we reload the app, we'll see a little skeleton placeholder before the actual data gets loaded in. Now, while we're working on this, let's comment out this if statement, and let's just show the loader. Now, our loader is static, so it doesn't move at all, but most skeleton loaders have some kind of animation to make the user feel like something is happening behind the scenes. So to do this, let's create a new file, and let's call it skeleton loader. And in this file, let's import React, and let's export const skeleton loader. And from the props, let's destructure the children. And let's also import view from React Native. And from our skeleton loader, let's just return a view with the children inside. This component will return whatever is being passed into it. In our item list loader, let's import skeleton loader, and let's wrap the whole of item list loader inside the skeleton loader. The idea here is in the future you could pass any type of content into the skeleton loader and it will handle doing the animation. Next up, we'll need to know the size of this view once it's been rendered. And to have this work with any content, let's use a useState. So we'll do a layout and set layout, and we'll do a React useState with no initial value. And now we can do if not layout, so layout is undefined. We will return this view with the children inside, and we'll use the onLayout property on the view, which gets called once the view is rendered. And this returns a event, and we will call setLayout with the event, native event, and layout. So this will give us the layout rectangle with the width and the height of the rendered item. And otherwise, let's return the children. Next, let's import masked view from React Native masked view. And let's return a masked view at the bottom. And we can use the children as the mask element. And we want our masked view to be the size of whatever our children is. So we'll do style equals width layout.width and height layout.height. So this will set the width and height of this masked view to be whatever the width and height of the rendered children would be. Now, in order for this masked view to actually display something, we'll need to also pass in something for it to mask. So let's pass in a view. Let's import stylesheet from React Native. And let's create our styles object at the bottom. So const styles equals stylesheet create. And we'll do a background. And let's give this a flex grow of 1, overflow hidden, and a background color of pink. So let's pass this into our view. So we'll do style equals styles.background. And now saving this, we will see that we have a pink version of our item list loader. Now, one thing to note is when I reload this, obviously originally it's going to return the children inside the view and then inside the mask element. So the background color of your background should be the same as the background color of your loading items here, so you wouldn't see the flicker. So let's pass in the background color as a property so we could configure it. So let's convert this style into an array, and we'll do a background color. So we can remove it from the style object. And in our item list loader, let's do a const background color equals pink. And let's pass this into our skeleton loader. And we can also use the same background color here instead of light gray. Now you can change this background color to, for example, teal or gray or any color you want. Next, let's import a linear gradient from React Native linear gradients. Now inside our masked view, so underneath the view that we already have, let's do another masked view. And let's position it absolutely, so we can do style equals stylesheet absolute fill. And for the mask element, we can use a linear gradient. So let's do a linear gradient, and let's do a start from x0, y0, and an end of x1, y0. This will go left to right. And for the style, let's also use absolute fill. And finally, for the colors, let's do an array of transparent, black, and transparent. And inside our second masked view, so where the mask element is linear gradient, let's convert this into a masked view that can take in children. And let's pass in a view. And for the style, let's pass in an array. So we'll do a style sheet absolute fill again. And we'll pass in the background color. So let's do a background color of purple. Now we see that our existing skeleton loader has a purple linear gradient applied on top of it. Now you can see that the color of the mask element doesn't matter apart from the transparency, because the color comes from here instead. Now let's move this highlight color to the properties as well. So in our item list loader file, let's do const highlight color equals purple. And let's pass the highlight color into the skeleton loader. And in our skeleton loader, let's destructure it from the properties. And down here, we can do background color is the highlight color. Now to animate this gradient, let's import reanimated from React Native reanimated. And let's add a reanimated view around the second masked view. So let's do a reanimated.view, and let's put it around the second masked view. And we'll also need to pass in a style of style sheet absolute fill. Next, let's import use animated style from React Native reanimated. And let's do a const animated style equals use animated style. And we'll pass in an arrow function that just returns an empty object for now. And let's take this animated style and go down to where our reanimated view is. Convert this style into an array and pass in the animated style as well as the absolute fill. Now let's import use shared value from React Native reanimated, and let's create a shared value. So use shared value, and let's start with 0. And let's do a React use effect, which will get run on mount. Let's also import with repeat and with timing from React Native reanimated. And in this use effect, let's do shared.value, and let's do with repeat and with timing. So let's go from 0 to 1. And for the config object, let's do duration 1 second, so 1000 milliseconds. And for the second argument for with repeat, we need to pass in how many times we want to repeat it. So in this case, I'm going to pass in infinity. Now, when the skeleton loader component gets mounted, we will have a shared value that starts from 0, and then we'll run this use effect once. So this sets the shared value with repeat to go from 0 to 1, taking 1 second, so 1000 milliseconds to do it, and do it infinitely. Next, to use this shared value in our animated styles, let's do a transform effect. So we'll do a transform, and this takes an array, and we'll do a translate x, and let's import interpolate from React Native reanimated, and let's do interpolate. So the first argument to this will be the shared value. The second argument will be the values that this shared value can vary between. So we know it's between 0 and 1. And the second array will be what we want to map to. So we'll do minus layout.width and plus layout.width. We'll also need to account for the initial state where layout will be undefined. So let's do if layout, then layout.width, otherwise 0. And the same for the second value. So if layout, then layout.width, otherwise 0. Now, after saving this, you might initially get a strange animation effect, and I see this a lot when working with animated styles. This only happens when you have fast refresh turned on, so if you reload the app, the animation gets reset and it looks good again. Now, I've used really bright colors here just to illustrate what's going on, so I'm going to change this back to a background color of light gray, and for the highlight color, I'm going to use white. So let's save this and reload, and we'll have a nice skeleton loader. Now, the last thing you want to do is, in our app.js, we can uncomment the if statement we commented out earlier. So we got our fruit back. And now when we reload the app, we will have a nice animated skeleton loader.